Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. I hope you are well in whatever time it is where you are, evening, afternoon, morning, what have you. Today I want to share with you what I think is the most important message I think you can possibly hear. I think it's definitely true for me. And that is the message of how important you are, how amazing and how powerful you are. So, my most recent interaction with my ET friends has had a very powerful impact on me, and the shift within me is continuing. It's one of the ways you know that you've had an actual ET encounter. Oftentimes what will happen is the encounter won't seem like that big of a deal. You might even wonder if anything significant happened. And then what will happen is over the next day or few days, the message will expand, and you start to really feel and experience the life-changing profundity of the message. And so that's what I want to share with you today. And I'll just share again what happened with me. And I'm not trying to say that this is something that has to happen for you. I encourage everybody to seek out their own experiences. I encourage everybody to have their own awakenings and their own specific journeys of self-recovery. I'm not looking to create some kind of a cult. I don't want you guys to follow me personally, or I want, if necessary and if I can, to give people the tools to have their own awakening and empowering experience. And your journey can be incredibly different from mine. So I'm not seeking to have you try and emulate or seek to emulate mine. I'm not comparing myself to anybody. So what happened to me a couple, 2-3 days ago, I moved back into this house I'm at, having some issues with the storm that came through, has put some mold in here, so it's made it a little challenging. That's why I'm in this part of the house right now. There's going to be some construction, and so I have to change my office to a different area of the house. But I got back into this house, and immediately there was some activity, some ET activity, which I haven't had when I was in the other house. For whatever reason, I don't know. And what happened is that my initial ET contact that I initiated contact with back in June, he showed back up again, and he had a very simple, empowering message. Yeah, I mean, there were some other things that happened, and I won't get into usually there's a lot of stuff packed into each interaction. But what I walked away with was a very empowering message he gave me, which he said, "Your light is a very special light that we need in the universe in order to explore and discover new things, like new places, new dimensions, new concepts. And here I am, I'm just this 3D nobody, and here's this incredibly powerful light being who's telling me that they, meaning higher dimensional beings, they need my specific special light because it helps them to discover things in the universe." And I thought how that was, my first thought was that was just such a nice thing to say, what an empowering thing to say. And I felt empowered by it and appreciated it. And I didn't think too much of it other than it was just somebody, making a connection and investing in that connection, as you do. If you have a connection with somebody, you tell them a positive compliment that's true about them, and it connects you more deeply, and it empowers them, and it empowers the relationship. That's pretty much how I felt about it. And then the next day, my ET friends came back, and they were letting me know that they wanted to meet with me, which means that there's going to be some kind of a journey or some kind of intense message, something like that. So I did what I always do. I went into my room and closed the blinds and put on the sleep mask, and I went into meditation, and I astrally left my body. I didn't realize how easy it was, but I figured out that's a very easy thing for me to do. So I left my body. I went out into space, and sure enough, there was an ET friend out there waiting for me and said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he said, "I want to take you to your home planet. This is the planet of your origin." I got the feeling that this was one of the places. It wasn't the place where I came into conscious being, but it was one of the first, perhaps the first planet that I incarnated on. And I didn't incarnate on that planet as an animal or a being. I was a crystalline structure. I was like a crystalline, 8-spoked, 3-dimensional, at least that's how I saw it, 3-dimensional sort of 8-spoked, like snowflake quartz crystal kind of thing. And I had, the crystal parts of me, there were like planes of crystal, imagine taking a crystal plane, putting it here, and then put another one through that, and then another one through that, another one through that. And in the middle of it was this soul consciousness energy that was pulsing with this light. I was pulsing with this light, and I guess I was feeding off of the energy of the sun, and there was just one sun and one planet that was revolving around it, and I was on this planet as this crystalline conscious being floating around, and that's really all I got out of that. And it was interesting, and wow, that's interesting and cool. And then the being said, and I said, "Is this where I came into conscious being?" And the being said, "No, you came into conscious being in one of the first star fields of the universe," and sort of said it like, I should have known that's where all souls came from or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then the being said, "And you can come back here whenever you want to get empowered." And I didn't think much of it. And so I kept on feeling, as I am sitting here right now, I can feel the energy of that being. And it's a higher dimensional energy going through my body. It's quite intense and pleasurable and all that good stuff. But I felt that energy really like drawing me and calling me to go and meditate. And so I would go back in my astral body back to that planet, and I would reconstruct that crystalline body, and I would learn more and more about it. And every time I did that, I would feel this huge trans-dimensional energy in me as I did it. Then what ended up happening as a result of that was that I started really feeling these messages that I had heard before, but they were coming to me again on a more profound level, explaining to me. Now, this is, I'll explain what this is. I guess I'm feeling a little self-conscious because I don't want this to sound like I'm some grandiose narcissist. But the messages that were coming were just really over the top messages about how powerful I am in the universe. And, I hesitate to tell you, the extent of it. But I welcome you to have your own experience. You don't have to have mine, have your own experience. And, what I've learned to do with my interactions with my ET friends, when they tell me things that are beyond my ability to believe, especially when they tell me things about myself that are, challenging, for my ego to accept, I just simply have decided that I accept at face value everything that they tell me, and I don't try and figure it out. I accept it, I embrace it, I incorporate it, but I don't become emotionally attached to it. And I don't get my ego attached to it. I just simply hear the message, and I've learned to say, I accept that message, and I'll repeat it. I accept this message that I am an infinite, powerful deity. I won't tell you all the other stuff that they were saying. But it was really over the top for me. And I would repeat it, and I accept it, and I say, yes, I am this amazing, powerful deity, this power of light in the universe. I am purifying all consciousness, these kinds of things. And they really get excited when I do that. When I repeat back to them and I accept it without thinking about it or analyzing it or getting attached to it one way or another, when I do that, I can feel them getting very excited. They get very happy. And the energy within me increases. And it gets, sometimes overwhelming. The amount of energy that comes, into me from those dimensions kind of gets overwhelming. And sometimes I have to stop because, wow, it's just really intense. But what ends up happening is that over a few days is that experience starts to unfold within me. And I start to see myself in my everyday life acting and reacting in a very different way. And I start to see events in my life transpire in very different ways. And so I'm realizing that whatever they're doing, or whatever it is that they're teaching me to do, which is probably a better way of saying it, whatever it is that they're teaching me to do is a method of shifting space-time on a very deep level. And so I take that in my meditations, and I'll also meditate, I'll do the Hool breath that I taught you guys a while back, where it's on the lightning qigong, where you do the Hool breath and the Huar breath, and you put energy into the earth and you put it back out into the universe, or you send it out through planet Earth and the consciousness of people. And what they keep telling me is that apparently I have a lot of power on their level. Like, not in the 3D level, I'm just a guy walking around. But when I meditate and I go into that, apparently, according to them, I'm getting stuff done in the cosmos. I am shifting things around, and I'm helping them do their job. And again, I'm not attached to any of it. I'm happy if that turns out to be wrong, if it's just a nice little compliment that they're giving me, or if they're doing some kind of, self-help, feel-good stuff so that I'll feel happy. I don't have an attachment to any of it. But I'm sharing that experience with you. Why am I doing that? I'm sharing that experience with you because I want you to understand that that is true for you in your particular way. Whatever your powers are, whatever your gifts are, on the higher dimensional levels. In other words, we live in this bizarro upside down world. We are the iceberg, the tiny bit of the iceberg that pokes out of the ocean. That's 3D. So what you think you are and what you experience in your life is just, the tip of the iceberg that's outside of everything. But if we turn everything upside down, then what you are, under the ocean, under the surface of the ocean, underneath the surface of 3D, you're enormously huge and powerful. You are, in terms of your spirit essence, you are unbelievably, amazingly powerful, beautiful, and your essence, your soul, is absolutely necessary to the health of the entire multiverse. So here in 3D, we get the feeling that we're expendable. Especially, when people die around us, because people die. You're going to die, I'm going to die, meaning we will leave our 3D body behind. And since we don't know any different, we don't know, we may have beliefs, we may have some religious beliefs or some spiritual beliefs or some hopes. We like to think that we are something more. But even our ancestors, when they talked about death, they talked about the underworld. And, any place other than 3D was sort of this, this nebulous, not real kind of place. And so you have this feeling like as long as you're here in 3D, something real is happening. But once you leave, if you fall asleep or if you die or if you, go into a coma or something, wherever you go, you're going someplace that's less real. That you're even less than you were when you were alive. That is the unconscious assumption that floats around in our brain. And that's the opposite. We are on the ass end of manifested conscious reality. We are just a little bubble on the surface of conscious reality. And so here in 3D, we think that we are isolated. We think that we are separate. We think that we are arbitrary. We think that we are replaceable. But understand that you come from the quantum source of consciousness. You are intricately, I can't speak anymore. You are a manifestation, a projection from the quantum conscious field. You want to call that God? Go right ahead. And unlike the biblical God who creates things outside of himself, and then if he doesn't like it, he can destroy it, or he can throw it in hell or do whatever. Unlike that, if you look at the exact opposite, the quantum conscious source of the multiverse is seeking to experience itself in all kinds of different ways and in all kinds of different dimensions and all kinds of different projections of itself. We are one of that. And understand that what the essence of what you are is absolutely necessary for the functioning of the universe. Absolutely necessary. You are not an arbitrary, fart of consciousness, because that's really how we look at humans, don't we? We don't really see humans as the people come and they go. The infants die. Old age people die. There are so many people who just live their lives seemingly doing nothing, accomplishing nothing. There's no shortage of people that if they were to pass away, if they were to die, the rest of us here in 3D, we wouldn't know any different. Our lives wouldn't be all that affected. And so we get this feeling that we are arbitrary, we are not valuable, we don't deserve to exist. Or worse than that, we're just kind of, arbitrary and and replaceable. It's one thing to be bad and worthy of destruction. But if you're bad and worthy of destruction, at least, people know you exist. But if you're just replaceable and nobody cares whether you exist or you don't exist, that's the worst. And that's a lot of how we view what it's like to be human. But actually, your essence, the conscious essence of yourself, is indispensable to the functioning of the universe. The universe, the multiverse, cannot function without your special, unique consciousness. So apparently, my consciousness is necessary for the universe to be able to figure stuff out. Because I have this ability to catch information and then narrow it down very specifically. This is my critical thinking, where I'm able to hear what people say and get to the root of it. I listen to what you say, I get to the root of what needs to happen. I'm able to take things like mythology and other teachings and slice it into little pieces so that we can see what is really happening, what the real meaning of it is here. And so apparently that essence of me in higher dimensions is much more profound and intense and necessary for the functioning of the multiverse. It's only in 3D that I'm just this esoteric, guy who has, almost no followers on YouTube, and nobody really knows who I am and nobody cares. So the opposite is true. We have people on this planet who are extremely famous, but when you scratch the surface of their 3D fame, you find out that they feel empty, that they don't get any, what they thought was going to give them relevance. Their fame doesn't give them that. Their fame doesn't give them self-love or self-awareness. Their money doesn't give them self-love or self-awareness any more than, a bodybuilder who takes, a bunch of steroids. His big muscles doesn't give him any more consciousness or awareness. He just has bigger muscles. So your fame or your money doesn't do anything to enhance your uniqueness or enhance your happiness in the world. So that's really all I wanted to kind of focus on today, and why I think this transdimensional revolution is so important. Listen, look, all I want to do is I just want to spend the rest of my life living on the beach and surfing. That's it. I just want to be healthy and surf and live on the beach, maybe have a wife and a dog, something like that, and settle down and just enjoy the rest of my life. That's really all I want to do. I don't have any ambition beyond that. And so whatever it is I do is just to give me that lifestyle. Having said that, I'm coming to realize that this transdimensional revolution that I've been talking about is incredibly necessary for the survival of the human race, for planet Earth, and it may be incredibly essential to the rest of the functioning of the multiverse. And in that, in order to understand how important this transdimensional revolution is, we need to completely change the narrative on what human beings are. And we need to expand the narrative outside of the third dimension. That's why I went through that whole story about, the ET showing me all this other stuff. It was, again, it's interesting and well, it's interesting to me. But really what I want to underscore is that what we experience here on the third dimension is really just the surface of things. It's really, compared to everything else, it's almost nothing. And we need to understand that we need to destroy the narrative of the 3D, which says that you are arbitrary, that you are replaceable, On the further negative end of it, human beings, many of them feel shame just because they exist. They feel that in order to be relevant in the world, they have to do something. You have to have money or fame or success, or you have to heal a lot of people, or you have to, you have to be a Bill Gates, or you have to be, a Elon Musk. You have to have lots of money and create all this stuff, and in order to have relevance in the world. And the majority of humans walk around with some level of shame and feeling unworthy. A lot of people feel they don't deserve to exist. And so we have an incredibly codependent species, human beings. And codependence, again, the definition of codependence is you get your value based on what you do, not who you are. So you get your value based on how much money you make, how much influence you have in the world, positive or negative. If you're, some famous guru that works with millions of people, that's your relevance. The amount of people that you work with, the amount of people whose lives you touch, and the amount of people who you awaken. That's, we base it on that. Your relevance based on that. Your relevance is based on how many people you help. If it's in your family, your relevance is based on making sure that mom's okay, that dad's okay, that everybody knows that you're here to fix them. Or your relevance in a negative way comes from your narcissistic control, how you control everybody in the world, how big your company is and how many employees you have and how many people you command and tell what to do. And, from a narcissistic perspective, they get their worth on how many people they can abuse or how they can get, negative attention in order to be seen. It reminds me of my brother. My brother, when I was a kid, he used to walk up and down the hall and he would cough and be really loud and slam doors, because the feeling I got was that if somebody didn't hear him, he'd feel like he disappeared. It's, the same feeling I get when I listen to people who, ride choppers, really loud motorcycles. They just have to have everybody in a 10-mile radius hear them. And if, 5,000 people can't hear his motorcycle at any given moment, then he'll just disappear. He won't have any relevance in the world. His relevance is based on how many eardrums he can annoy at one time. Then at least he knows he's alive. That may not be their thought process, but that's how it feels. And so we live in a world where we feel like we don't matter, we don't exist, nobody truly sees us. We only have our value based on what we do, how you look. If you have a perfect body, if you're a model, if you're an influencer. There's so many people who have, Twitter accounts and YouTube channels where all they do is they get up in the morning and they put their clothes out and they talk about, what, what clothes they're going to wear today and how they arrange their closet and how they put their makeup on. And it's just, I don't get it. But it feels to me like, again, their relevance comes from what they do, how they look, how much money they have, how many followers they have. You get it. So on the small scale, it can be codependent. You're taking care of somebody. You're making sure everybody knows that you're the fixer. You take care of them. Or you're a narcissist. You're an abuser. Or you're just a famous person getting a lot of attention. We have to do something in order to feel like we belong. And the message that is coming from the higher dimensions is, there is nothing that you can do or nothing that you can be that will make you more valuable than you are right now. And simply because you are conscious simply because you are conscious, there is something about your vibration that is essential to the functioning of the universe. And that it's an illusion that you need to do something to have value. It's an illusion that you need to do something or be something to have any worth. Having said that, that doesn't mean that while you're in 3D, you still need to follow the one commandment, which is you have to listen to your soul and do that. But the difference is when you live for your soul, to give your soul joy and happiness, you are only doing it for your own empowerment. You're not doing it to gain any relevance. You're not doing it to gain any approval. You're not doing it because of anything outside of you. And the ironic thing is when you stop living for other people, when you stop trying to fix other people or get other people's approval, when you live only for your own, not even your own approval, but your own happiness and your own fulfillment, even if that means living in a cave by yourself or being a YouTube influencer and having millions of followers, it's irrelevant how many people, physical people you're interacting with. What's relevant is that you are doing what brings you personal joy and fulfillment. You still must do that. You must. And when you do that, you will be connected to that specific vibration of your consciousness, which is essential to the functioning of the universe. Because it's, you are functioning on higher dimensional levels and getting your job done, even if here on the planet Earth you're, playing pinochle. You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's the message that I wanted to give to you today. I really wish I could do a better job of explaining what the message is that's coming to me from them, which is how incredibly valuable you are just because you exist, and how intensely loved you are. That every conscious filament and fiber in the multiverse loves you intensely and deeply and passionately. And I'll give you one last little example of this before I open it up for discussion and questions. Back when I was married, this had to have been probably 15 years ago, I had this dream, and I don't remember what happened. The only thing I remember of the dream is that I was waking up and I was coming out of this dark, really dark, horrible place. And there was this angel, this absolutely unbelievably beautiful, bright, shining angel, this being of light, was floating down, and she was amazing. And my thought was, I'm looking at, a heavenly angel, an angel from the throne of God. She was just absolutely unbelievably pure and bright, and her energy was amazing. And she said, "Wake up. It's okay. You're just dreaming." And she took me by the hand and she pulled me with her light. She pulled me out of the darkness. And as I came out of the darkness, I woke up, and it was my wife who was half asleep. She's going, "Wake up. You're dreaming. Wake up. You're dreaming." So in 3D, she didn't look all that amazing. But I knew that what had happened, I was so shaken by what happened. I got up and I went into the kitchen, and I remember, just like trying to figure out where I was, because I was trying to put myself back in my body and back into 3D, because I knew that wherever I had gone was somewhere outside of this world, and it was someplace dark, and it was, I don't know what was going on there, but it really freaked me out. But what was amazing was that I was saved by this incredible, shining, beautiful being of light. And I never saw my wife the same after that. Now, we ended up getting a divorce and there were other things, but I never, ever forgot that that's who she was. And, bear in mind, as a human being, she had a lot of issues to overcome. There was a lot of things I could have judged her about, a lot of limitations and, obvious, real major things she had. I mean, we got a divorce. There was a reason for it. But I never forgot that at her level of, her soul level, she was this amazing being of light that I was just in awe of, just being in the presence of that being, this deity, this goddess of light. It was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal experience. And I've never forgotten that. And I've always been able to remember that no matter who I'm dealing with in the 3D, no matter how limited or negative or unconscious they are, that underneath that, if I were to see them in their soul essence, I would be floored at the beauty, the infinity, the spiritual brightness, the amazingness, the love, the wisdom and the power that every single person has. And I think that was the purpose of that dream, was for me to see her essence and realize that that is the essence of every single human being on this planet. And that is your essence as well. And the experience you have of the negativity that you have within yourself, the self-directed shame, the shame that you have about living, the disappointment you may have about not being enough, and not doing enough, not if I only had this, I'd be okay. If only I did this, I'd be okay. For me, a few years back, if only I could have become a famous actor, then I would have been okay. If only I had this much money, if only I had this kind of a girlfriend, if only if only this, if only that, then I'd be okay. Right? That stuff that we all carry with us is, it's just, I want to say it's nonsense, but it's just, it's an attachment to an idea that if we can get rid of it, we will free ourselves. Which is really what the Buddha tried to teach, which is attachment causes pain. And the attachment that I believe he was talking about wasn't the attachment to, the way we denigrate ourselves. Oh, I'm attached to money, and oh, I'm attached to my desires, and I have to be free of desires. I don't think that's what he meant. What he meant was the attachment to the idea that your worth and your value, your relevance in the universe, comes from things outside of you. It's not that it's evil to want to be prosperous. It's not that it's evil to want to, have an attractive partner. It's not evil that you want to experience good things and enjoy life, that you have desires in your physical body. Those things aren't the problem. That's not the issue that you need to avoid being attached to. What you need to avoid being attached to is the idea that your relevance comes from that. And there's a lot of people that conflate the two. There's a lot of people who think if they get a lot of money, they'll be okay. And they think it's because the money will give them this feeling of safety and this feeling of nurturing. But I think a lot of times it's the idea that they think that money will give them relevance in the world. Look at I have relevance. How is that? Well, look how much money I have. I have relevance. Why is that? Well, look at how beautiful my wife or my husband is. I have relevance. Why? Well, look at how big my company is. Look at the car I drive. Look at all the people I'm helping. Now, I could be a nurse, You know, a nurse who spends her whole time, working in a hospital and healing people. And look at all of the people that I take care of every day. Look at how valuable I am. Look at what I'm doing to gain my relevance. I think what the Buddha meant was the attachment to the idea that your relevance comes from anything outside of you. Because it doesn't. Whatever you see in any deity, when Krishna, you worship Krishna and you see how amazing Krishna is. Jesus, Buddha, Shiva, Kali, Thor, Odin, pick your deity. Whatever it is that you see in that deity and you worship and enjoy is within you. You are that. When you worship a deity, when you do a mantra to a deity, the chanting of the name of the deity doesn't go out to some deity out there who's absorbing all of your mantra and making it. It's not what's happening. What's happening is when you chant to a deity, the part of you in your soul, the divine part in your soul wakes up. And when you can identify with the deity, and you can identify it within yourself, and see yourself as that deity in the universe, then you'll know who you really are. And again, the ironic thing is when that happens, the last thing you're going to want to do is control or dominate others. The more power you truly gain, the less you want to impose that power on other people, and the more you want to awaken it within them. This is why we worship deities. Anyway, so that's it. I can leave it there for now. If you have any questions, do me a favor, write the word question in all caps so that I can see it. Before I get into the question and answer, let me do some business very quickly. So I encourage you and invite you to be part of the transdimensional revolution. Hashtag transdimensional revolution. Feel free to tweet that, put it on your social media. The transdimensional revolution, the basis of the transdimensional revolution is that the value of every human is based on who they are, not on what they do. And when human beings are able to consciously absorb that and live that truth, the elite, narcissistic psychopaths who are running this world will fall. Because the only way that the elite cabal stays in power is if you believe that your value comes from outside of you. And everything that they do, everything they do on the media, everything they do on social media, everything that they do through laws, through the corporations, through all of the stuff that they're doing, religion, everything that the elite cabal is doing is designed to get you to believe that your value comes from outside of you. And so if you can internalize the truth that your value comes simply because you're aware and there's nothing you need to do, and when you live your life and you commit to live your life based on that understanding, they will lose all power over you. So, this is what this revolution is about. This revolution is not a political one. It is not a religious one. It is not an economic one. It is not a philosophical revolution. It is a revolution of essence. There is no guru. There is no, master to whom we bow down to. This is an individual experience that we all do for our own awakening. All right, so what is the transdimensional revolution that I invite you to be a part of? It is the goals are threefold. The first one is to disconnect human awareness from the mind control influence of the 3D corporate elite. 2, to reveal to humans their true identity as free citizens of the conscious, multi-dimensional universe. Number 3 goal is to awaken inherent dormant 5D spiritual energies of humans, because when you connect to higher dimensions, all of the illusions of the 3D fall away. The methods of the revolution are fivefold. Number 1, you choose to reject the mainstream narrative of the elite. Number 2, you choose to reverse personal devaluation programming that you carry with you. 3, you choose to practice spiritual energy techniques that destroy 3D limitations, like the energy practices we do here on this channel. The 4th method of revolution, you choose to initiate contact and create relationships with interdimensional beings. And number 5, you choose to live a free, fulfilling, and spiritually vibrant life. These are not commands. I'm not creating a religion here. These are the things that I am doing in my life that I choose to do. Of all of these things, based on my experience is that the most powerful proactive action that you can take is the number 4 method, which is to initiate contact with higher dimensional beings. And to do that, you can just simply type in CE5 protocols. Again, I didn't make it up. Somebody else came up with that and shared it with the world, but it works. Every single person that I know who has initiated contact with higher dimensional beings, even if at first it kind of is weird and strange and maybe even a little freaky, what ends up happening is that their lives dramatically transform in incredibly positive ways. And the reason for that is because, again, as I've said before, when you experience higher dimensional energies, the illusions of the 3D fall away. And the illusions of the 3D are your attachments to external ideas and things to which you believe you gain your relevance. When you connect to higher dimensional energies, those delusions and illusions of how you gain your relevance disappears. By the way, this is the challenge of it. If you interact with a higher dimensional being and it's a challenging experience, the only reason it's challenging is because your attachment to gaining relevance from something outside of you gets destroyed. And so that's the challenge. We are attached to these things, and it's difficult, and it feels like we're dying if we let go of our attachments to what we think is going to give us relevance. But eventually, usually very quickly, things shift around, and you see people waking up and evolving extremely quickly. All right, and before we go any further, I got to do some business. If you want to have access to the energy practices that I teach, which I believe are the most powerful energy practices in the history of the human race, go to thunderwizard.com, click around until you see Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Subscribe to that. Simply then go to Lightning Qigong Phase 1 morning practice and just click play and start doing that. Just follow the directions. If you want to find my books, which by the way, I'm proofreading a book that I just finished about my ET friends. And if you want to look at all of my books that I have, go to courses.thunderwizard.com or just look me up, michaelwilliamdenny.com. You'll find me on Amazon. If you want the most powerful moving energy practice in my experience, and which I think in the world, because that's my experience, is maoshan.thunderwizard.com. And I am, between now and the 11th, I am taking off $1,250. That means that's how much I'm taking off of the cost of this until the 11th. So you only have a few days left, because what is today? Today is the 5th. So you only have 1 week left. In a week, this sale will be gone and the prices will go back to normal. And so between now and then, go check that out. That is the most powerful energy practice I know of. The combination of the two, the 5 elements, Maoshan, and the lightning qigong. I mean, that is the modern day Maoshan university. That is the modern day Maoshan practice. The highest energy practice, I believe, that's ever that human beings have ever had. And the Maoshan, that was the name of where their temple was in China 2,000 years ago. But the actual name of the sect was the Shangqing, which means highest purity. And it means they were tapping into higher dimensional energies. And they believed they were tapping into the realm or the heaven of the highest purity, which I would say is probably the 9th dimension. So if you want the power of the 9th dimension, you can go here to thunderwizard.com and subscribe to the Lightning Qigong. And if you want the full, complete package that I'm aware of, you can go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com, and there. I don't think you'll find anything more powerful than that. Okay, that's it. I've done all the business. Now I'm prepared to take a look at any of the questions. So we see Vincent, as always, a very faithful viewer, vincent.thunderwizard.com. Here's a guy who really, really does the work. He really walks the walk. He is one of my Vedic astrologers, and he is also, as you can see, a very talented healer and shaman in his own right. So go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com, see what he's got available. Thundra, also one of my Vedic astrologers, an incredibly powerful healer and shaman in her own right. Very, very evolved soul. You can go check her out. thundra.thunderwizard.com. Brent Mitchell, if you're new to the channel, then you don't know that I need you to write things in all caps so that I don't miss it. If you're not new to the channel, then shame on you. Why didn't you pay attention? Why is it so hard? Everybody, not just you, Brent, but I mean, so many people just can't do that. It's a simple thing. Just write the word question or honest feeling in all caps so that I see it. You don't want me to keep talking down to you? Then pay attention and don't, do what I ask next time. That way I won't have to go on that diatribe. So, Brent Mitchell, honest feeling. So he's not even here to... I will have to watch this later. I don't know why you need to tell us that. But he says, you are amazing. Keep up the great work, Thunder Wizard. Well, that's a very nice thing to say. I appreciate that. Thank you. Ali Farhood says question, and then I don't see anything. Then we go down here. Ali Farhood question. Mike, how can I not stress over money? So that's not an honest question. I mean, are you really asking me how to not stress over money? Or are you saying, how can I not stress over money? I can't tell by that. You say, how can I not stress over money? I feel like if I do not reach a certain salary threshold, my options in life are limited. I get the one commandment. No, you don't. Sorry, but you don't. If you got the one commandment, then you wouldn't have said that. Nah, I'm not judging you. You don't get it. That's okay. You know it. You intellectually know it, but you obviously don't get it. Or you don't understand what it is about the one commandment. By the way, in case you're not clear, I have a book that I read on the channel, and you can buy it. You can buy this book on Amazon, or you can go onto my channel and listen to me read it. I don't care. But it is the most important book that I have. It is the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. That book, if you could only read one book in your life, I know that sounds really egotistical of me, but if you could only read one book in your life, to this, if there was only one book of mine that you could read, including the one I'm about to release, which is probably my most important book to date, even then, if you wanted to just read one of my books, it would be the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. It is a commandment. And the commandment is very simple. It's what I've already just said. I say it in almost every video. The commandment is that you must live your joy. You must do it. I must surf. I must. It's not my hobby. It is my medicine. It is the thing that connects me to my soul. It is the most important thing I can do in this life. You have something that you must do. Now, everything in my life comes second. The business that I have, which I'm involved in at this moment, every time I point up here, right, I'm trying to pay the bills. Why? So that I can surf. And I choose to live in semi-tropical places. Like I've spent a year in Florida. I'm going to go back to north central Queensland, Australia, so that I can 365 days a year go and just simply walk out into the ocean and surf. And everything I do is second. Whatever business I have is a business I've created so I can do that. So, Ali, there's no money in surfing. I'm 59 years old. I'm not going to make money as a professional surfer. So there's no money in it. And yet that's the most important thing that I have to do. If there was a God, and if this God were to give me a commandment, his commandment would be, thou shalt surf. And if I don't surf, I would go to hell. Now, I'm telling you that because as a result of me doing that, I just finished living in a 2-story split-level house surrounded by water and palm trees on the beach. I'm back in the other house I was in, which is just a couple of blocks up the road, surrounded by palm trees and water and beach, empty private beach. I live a really good life. And it's not because I throw myself away for some salary of some job. So Ali, even though you know what the one commandment is, you haven't acted on it. Because a commandment is an action. You must take action on it. You think the same way that Christians think. I don't know what your religion is. Your name is Ali, so maybe you come from a Islamic background. I personally don't care. I'm just saying that Christians think that if they believe in Jesus, they'll be saved. There's no action involved there. It's an intellectual understanding. You seem to think that if you intellectually understand the one commandment, that then you'll get the benefits. And it doesn't work like that. If you want to get the benefits of the one commandment, you have to act on it, which you're not doing. You say, I get the one commandment, but I don't have a marketable passion. I don't either. But what ends up happening is that if I'm going to survive, and when I divorced my now ex-wife, I was willing to live on the beach in a cardboard box if that's what it took. I almost, first thing I was going to do is I was just going to leave and go to Hawaii and just live on the beach I was just going to be a bum and then figure out what to do after that. What ends up happening is that when I obey that and I take action on it, meaning I'm willing to give up everything that I'm attached to. So Ali, I just said you're attached to superficial things that say that things outside of you is what gives you your worth. You even say it. You say, if I don't reach a certain salary threshold, my options in life are limited. That's another way of saying, if I don't make a certain amount of money, I have no relevance. I have no value. I have no worth. You are attached to that. Your ego, and I don't mean that in your ego, I mean your identity. You really believe that your salary is what gives you value. Now, what I didn't tell you about the freaking castle that I was living in this past month is that I didn't, they can get a lot more money than I can afford to pay. But I was given the opportunity to say, come, because the owner wanted to live here in his house for a couple of weeks, and his sister lives in this freaking castle and says, oh, why don't you go live in my house? What were you paying before? Okay, yeah, you can pay that. That's fine. And so I was living far above my means. The lesson is that the universe hands you everything that you need. You don't believe that. You think that you have to I don't know if you like your job or not, but you seem to be only focused on a salary threshold. Your entire worth is based on throwing your life away for some job, working for somebody else because you say salary. So it's not even your business. You have to work for somebody else. So your value, literally, your entire value as a person, based on what you're telling me, is that you work for a company. And your value to them, obviously, is only in you producing or doing whatever job they want you to do. So it means if you don't have that job and you don't have that money, you have no value. This is what you just told me, that you don't believe you have any value if you don't work for a company, whatever it is that they do, and get the money that they give you. They decide your value. They decide your worth. So the other thing is you say you don't have a marketable passion. How do you know? I just got through telling you that there are people on YouTube and people on Instagram and people on Twitter who are influencers. They make millions of dollars videotaping themselves putting on makeup in the morning or laying out the clothes they're going to wear for today. They make millions of dollars doing that. I would not consider filming myself as I put on my clothes for the day a marketable passion either. And yet there are people who make their living doing that. There are people who make their living being travel guides. And that's their passion. That's what they do for fun. And they turned it into money. So you don't know if you can turn your passion into money. I don't even know if you know what your passion is. And bear in mind, passion is not the same as your soul desire. It's not a hobby. It's a thing that gives you joy. Surfing isn't a hobby for me. Surfing is the thing that gives me joy. It is my medicine. So maybe you don't even know what your medicine is yet. In any case, Ali, you say you get the one commandment. You don't get the one commandment because the part you didn't get was that you have to act on it. And you have to be willing to die to have the freedom to act on your joy. In other words, you have to be willing to say, this is my joy, and I'm going to act on it, even if it kills me. If you're not willing to do that, then you're going to be stuck and you're going to complain as you are right now, obviously. Why would you make this comment about your salary threshold if you weren't uncomfortable about it? If you were happy about, yeah, I got this job and I make this money and life is great, you wouldn't bother mentioning anything. You're mentioning it obviously because this isn't what you want to do. Am I wrong? So, unfortunately, I can give you the information. I can tell you what to do, but you have to take action on it. And if you don't take action on it, you're not going to get anything from it. And if you're not going to take action on it, there's nothing I can do for you. So follow my instructions. If you want what I have, you got to do what I do. And what I do and what I have done is I am willing to die, number one, to know what gives me joy. I'm willing to go through whatever pain is necessary to become aware of that. I'm willing to lose whatever relationships, whatever value I have in the world. I'm willing to lose everything just for the knowledge of knowing what makes my soul happy. And then number two, I'm willing to take action to make sure that I live my soul, and I'm willing to die to take that action. I'm willing to lose whatever friends, whatever family, whatever. And if you're not willing to do that, for some people, you're going to have an issue. There's going to be a problem. All right, what else? Looking for the questions. The fiery one. Question. Have you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth? So, fiery one, welcome to the channel. I can't tell you how happy I am that you're here. I can tell you're new, because if you had been here a long time, you would know that the thing to do is to ask me questions about what I teach. Asking me what books I've read or what toothpaste I use or what underarm deodorant is meaningless. By doing that, you're trying to distract us from what we're talking about. Whether or not I've read anything is, if you want to find that out, in other words, if you want to find out if the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are meaningful to me, then what you need to do is go put some time and some effort looking on my channel to see if I talk about it. If I don't talk about it, it means it's not important to me. If it's not important to me, that means I don't have any opinion on it, which means asking me about it is a waste of your time and mine. Welcome to the channel. Ask me about what I teach. Ask me a question. Asking me what I read also doesn't tell me what you want. I can't tell from that question if you have an emotional need that needs to be met. I can't tell from that question if you're just not some guy sitting in a bar making conversation. Hey, did you see the game yesterday? Oh, have you read the Tablets of Thoth? Anyway, I got to go. I don't need small talk, so don't waste my time with it. If you have something of value that you need fixed, that you need worked on, that you want to look at, ask me about that and let me see what your emotional need is. Asking me superficial questions about what books I've read, that's not what we do here. In any case, welcome to the channel. Spend some time watching the videos and also do the energy work. So if you're new to the channel, I've told you where to go to subscribe, thunderwizard.com. Do those. If you don't want to do that, then go onto my channel and go to the playlists right now. And I want you to click on 2 videos. You can go click on the Hool Breath and the Awakening the Immortals Qigong. My suggestion is to do those 2 energy practices every single day. When you've done that for a week, guess what? You're going to have some questions I'm going to want to answer. All right? So that's how I know that you're new to the channel and you're not doing the energy practices, because your question tells me that. So come up with a question that will inspire me to want to talk and help you instead of publicly humiliate you, which is no fun for anybody. Not a house. So in case anybody doesn't know, this individual is not a house, is not a horse, is not a cow. This person is not a house, just in case. I wasn't sure. I thought that that human being was a house, but now I see this person is not a house. All right, not a house says, and again, it makes me, just the first few words makes me wonder if you also are doing the energy practices, which is what this channel is about. Are you doing the Hool Breath and the Awakening the Immortals Qigong every day? Those are the 2 most basic, powerful, the 2 extremes, the most basic and the most powerful free stuff I have. Do it. and your life will skyrocket. So you can tell me if I'm wrong. My instinct, based on the first couple of words of your question, is that you may not be doing those things. Let's see. You say, do you believe sincerity is inherent within each of us? And you go on to say, and if not, can it be taught and learned? Now you're going to give me an opinion. Seems to be a very important part of the process and can't be faked. So this isn't a question. A question is when there's something that you need to understand or learn or figure out and you don't have the answer to it and you think that I do. Obviously, don't waste your time asking me questions about stuff. Don't ask me questions about how to put makeup on because I don't wear makeup. So this is really what we're doing, Not a House, is you are telling us, you're virtue signaling. You know what virtue signaling is? Virtue signaling is showing to the world how, spiritual you are, or how good you are, or how religious you are, or how smart you are, or how connected to current events you are. And this is what you're doing here. You're virtue signaling. You have some emotional attachment to the idea of being sincere. And that means that you have a judgment that there are people who aren't sincere. And so what you're really saying is you want us to believe that you're a sincere person, which you want us to know is a good thing. And at the same time, you want us to buy into the victim mentality you have, that there are insincere people out there. And they're obviously doing whatever damage insincere people do. And so you want me to co-sign that because you've asked a question that obviously, what if I said no to that? You say, do you believe sincerity is inherent within each of us? And if not, can it be taught and learned? I don't understand this question. It's coming from a strange place. It sounds like somebody who can't read other people. Like you can't tell if somebody you're talking to is sincere. You can't tell if somebody is lying to you or not. And I don't know where that comes from. It sounds like a painful place to be. So it tells me that you feel disconnected from people. You say it seems to be a very important part of the process. What process are we talking about? And again, why do you need to virtue signal to the world how important sincerity is in the again, I don't know what the process is. And can't be faked. So what you really mean by that is that people in your life have faked sincerity, and it has damaged you, and it frightens you. The thought of somebody faking sincerity to you. Again, about what? What would they need to be sincere about? Their feelings about you? I don't know what any of this is about. What I do know, Not a House, now I do know you're not doing the energy work. Am I wrong? You can correct me if I'm wrong. So my suggestion to you is spend some time doing the energy work. Do the whole breath and the awakening the immortals every day. Do it for, at least 10 minutes or a half an hour a day. Do it for a month. You're going to start asking me totally different questions. This is such a superficial question. There's so much emotional pain. I get the sense that you've been damaged, that you're in a lot of pain. You feel really isolated. People have hurt you and you don't trust them. And you're very frightened of people's motives. You don't have the ability to know when somebody coming at you is coming from a good place or not. Why would you say that? It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about today. But I appreciate that you're reaching out, trying to find a way to heal this pain. So if you're going to ask me a question, also talk about yourself. How is it relevant to you? If you read that, you're not in any of that. You're talking about it in the third person. It's something outside of you. You're virtue signaling. You haven't said how you feel. Like if you had said, I have a hard time knowing when somebody's being sincere and it really hurts me. Do you have any suggestions? I would have some response to that. And not only that, but I would have some empathy for you instead of what I'm doing now, which is psychoanalyzing you. To get through your denial and get through the ego attachment to whatever's going on here, what the real issue is that I don't know about. So do the energy practices. They're free, and come back and then ask some questions based on what comes up from that, and you'll see a very different response from me. And my apologies, I made fun of your name earlier on. Don't take that personally. I was just being a pain in the ass. Okay, Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. This is a lot to process. What is a lot to process? What I said today? That you are a powerful, amazingly powerful being on the other side of the dimensional barrier. That you have worth. That your unique expression in in the universe is essential to the entire universe functioning. That's a lot to process. I understand it's a lot of process. It's a lot to process for me as well. So here's the thing that I've learned about myself, which maybe you and I share, Vincent. I've learned throughout my life, I have this thing called false humility. False humility. False humility when I was an actor. I remember the first time, that I acted on stage. And of course I was beating myself up because I missed that line and I didn't do this perfectly. And I had this narcissistic idea of what I needed to do to do the perfect performance. And, the truth is that I did great. I just showed up and I did the best I could and people loved it. Standing ovation. And people came up to me afterwards and started telling me how great I was. And I said, no, I really screwed up this one line and I screwed up this one scene. And they just looked at me like, why are you crapping all over me? I just gave you a compliment. And I didn't understand it. And then I thought it through and I realized, the thing to do is to just say thank you. It doesn't matter. They had a good time. Don't be so selfish to step on their good time. Say thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you came. It was my false humility and it's destructive. So you're saying that, if I'm hearing you right, that you also have some false humility. That it's painful and frightening to hear about how empowering and amazing and powerful you are in the universe. Because it's challenging for me when they start telling me things like, some of the things I shared in the beginning of this video, and things I don't even have the balls to share what they've really said to me. It's just like I'm not ready for anybody to hear that come out of my mouth. But that's my false humility, and I'm working through it. Vincent.thunderwizard.com question. An idea came to me to sell crystals that I empower with mantra and qigong. Do you have any experience with that? No, I don't, but it sounds like a great idea. I feel self-conscious, stupid, and doubtful that it'll have the desired effect. Well, if you're, one of the things to do is not be attached to anything. You get an idea, go do it, but don't be attached to the outcome. Go get crystals and put mantras on. That there are no shortage of people that do this. They sell it on eBay, they sell it on Etsy. There's a ton of people that make a lot of money doing exactly what you just described. So it's obviously something that people want. And what's the worst that could happen? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you buy crystals and you do some energy work on the crystals and you mantra over it and it doesn't do anything. What's the worst that's happened? Somebody will buy it, and even if they make it up in their head and they go, oh my God, I feel so much power, Even if they made it up, who cares? You gave someone an excuse to give them to empower themselves. Who cares whether your mantra and qigong did anything or not? More than likely, it probably will. Because crystals, I've been looking at them lately. Crystals have this ability, which is why they're in watches and cell phones and things like that, is that when you put energy into crystals, they turn that energy into very specific electric charges. They get empowered. If you put energy into it, the crystals will purify that. So what have you got to lose? Your attachment to this false humility. That's what you have to lose. Let's see what else. The fiery one. I'm not interested in honest fact. I don't even know what an honest fact is. I'm interested in your questions and your feelings. I've used the word before. I like your honest questions. So people have now they write honest feelings, or I've said I want your feelings, your honest feelings. I don't know what an honest fact is. I haven't read this. I don't have a good vibe about it already, but before I say anything more, let me go ahead and read it. And again, here's my suggestion to everybody. Write a question or share an honest feeling. Otherwise, you set yourself up to have me, pull your diapers down in front of the whole world. And I know people can't resist it. People can't resist having to throw their ego out. Anyway, we'll see. Fiery one says, honest fact, my name is Kyle, and here we go. Let's see. Did I respond to Fiery one? Have you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth? Okay. He says, my name is Kyle, and I was your student, if you remember. I don't remember. I've had a lot of students, don't take it personally. He says, P.S., that book will increase your wisdom. You were my student, and you don't know how destructive it is to give unsolicited advice? You didn't learn that from me? There's a reason we're not working together. I don't know what it is, if you stop working with me or whatever, but that's really destructive. It's destructive to me when you do that. It's one thing if you come on here and you interact with me, the assumption is you want my interaction. Otherwise, you wouldn't watch my channel. So Kyle, you're this close to getting blocked. That was a destructive thing to do. I recommend don't do that to other people as well. If you love the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, I am so thrilled that you go onto your channel and you talk about it, or you write your own books about it. I'm thrilled for you. Don't tell me what I need to do. If you have such a powerful, well-developed opinion based on all of the knowledge and evolution that you've created for yourself, I will come to you and ask for your opinion. Until then, your unsolicited advice is destructive to me and to anybody else you do it to, and to yourself. So there's some free bit of advice. Anyway, I'm this close to just blocking you altogether because I find this interaction not very pleasant. Let's see, what else? Ali Farhood, over my physical appearance. What does that mean? I mean, you have to... Ali, why aren't you giving me context? Why are you just throwing half a sentence out there like I know what the hell you're talking about? See, the last thing you said was... there's no connection to what you said. So... try again. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Yes, I also have false humility. Yes, well, we all do to some degree. I appreciate your bravery in sharing that. Saul Friedman, honest feeling. Last week I was triggered by my son by allowing him to overstep my boundaries, and I became angry. That's how it works. I have continued with 90-day challenge, and the anger has subsided, and I have learned. That's awesome. Congratulations. And that makes me feel good, because that's the point of the 90-day challenge, is to become aware of yourself and to to feel those negative things and then evolve beyond them. So I'm happy that it seems to be working. That's it. No more questions. All right, so I guess we're done. I've done. I've done. I've offended enough people, so I guess we're done. So, as always, I appreciate every single one of you coming on here, and no matter what my interaction with you has been, my desire for you is that you find happiness, health, and prosperity, that you have absolutely everything that you want in this universe. And I have nothing but love for any of you. I don't dislike or hate anybody, no matter how I seem to come across. And I'm saying that because if I've done or said anything that's been hurtful or offensive, or if you felt dismissed or misunderstood, those are all possible because I'm human. But that's just how I am. I reflect back to you what I see in the hopes that I can be helpful to you. And do your best to forgive me, or do what I do and see if you can work through those things. And outside of that, thank you all for showing up. I wish you all the best. Keep me in your meditations, and I will keep you in my meditations. And I will see you guys probably Monday, hopefully. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of construction going on, so who knows what I'll be doing. In any case, I love you all, and I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Take care.